Whoever said everything's bigger in Texas apparently didn't take into account Talladega. This speedway boasts the highest banking, the fastest speeds, and the longest lap length of any oval track on the NASCAR schedule. Tensions are higher, wrecks are wilder, and the ante has been upped in pretty much every way possible. Will this make the win all the more special as well? We'll find out soon as we get ready to watch round 3 of the FEG PC iRacing Flea Market Winter Truck Series. And you'll see it all live here on the Global Sim Racing channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Adam Young. Behind the scenes is our director, Sean Crackers Ambrose, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Adam, tonight it's Alabama and pickup trucks. There's not much more fitting for the American South.
Yeah, and especially trucks here. I mean, it's just a racy combination as far as restrictor plate racing. Of course, we talk a lot about restrictor plate races, and I've been called. You can't really call them restrictor plate races. Well, that's just what I've always grown up been calling them, and that's what I'm going to continue to call them. But Talladega different than Daytona because Talladega is just that much more wider than Daytona is, and that really helps out with the raceability of these trucks. I mean, you're going to be seeing times where there's 4 or 5 wide here at Talladega when things really start to come down to a wire, because on these 33 degrees of banking in the corners, it gets nuts in a hurry, and it gives lots of room to move and try to make a move when things start to count. 2.66 miles in length is the longest track on the NASCAR, at least the NASCAR Cup circuit, so always a fun one when we come to Talladega.
Absolutely. And well, let's take a look at the championship right now, as we've got a few points on the board with 2 rounds in. Matt Lee is actually one of our winners, one of our 2 winners, and Matt Quick hasn't won one yet. It's through consistency and just avoiding penalty points that essentially he has managed to get himself up to the front. But you can see that it's still incredibly tight all the way down, even with 4th and 5th tied there at 6 points behind our leaders. So we expect that with those penalty points, things will continue to be mixed around for a little while here in this short winter season. And then we'll get a clear picture of who are our major players. What about the race details for specifically today's race at Talladega? Adam, what are we in for?
Yeah, let's go pull that up. We're going to go for 75 laps here today, and this is course round 3 of 11. The setups here are fixed. There is no fast repair, which is key because it's also a 13 incident limit here today. So gotta take care of your equipment. If we do happen to have a green-white checkered, we'll get 2 attempts at it.
We saw 1 attempt at it last time, and that certainly played a major role in the race. But this race, as they are all season long, are brought to you by Ford Entertainment Group PC. FEG PC builds gaming PCs, and they've built over 1,300 units for iRacers. Their customers include peak pro drivers like Malik and Nicholas Shelton, as well as professional driver coach Enzo Mucci, YouTube top Oval Personality Jason Jacoby, iRacing staff, and a host of other real racing drivers. FEG PCs start as low as $595 and all come with iRacing pre-installed, as well as major third-party apps to make it as plug-and-play as possible. In addition, FEG PC has agreements with most of the top sim equipment companies in the business and can be your one-stop shop for racing cockpits, wheels, pedals, shifters, and much more. You just order, sit at home, and it arrives. All FEG PCs come with a 3-year back-to-front warranty and free tech support via remote service. FEG PC is a family-owned and operated business and has 10 years of sim racing experience. You can find them at fegpc.net. Also, we want to remind you that we're sponsored by the iRacing Flea Market. The iRacing Flea Market is a Facebook page with over 12,000 members buying and selling used and new sim racing products. The link to this is in the description, the YouTube description below this video. As we wait to see if we get qualifying go here in a moment, not if, whether we will, is definitely a certainty, as we've got the checkered flag here for qualifying now. It looks like Davey Hendricks was our fastest driver in the warm-up, but it's going to be a completely different game here in the qualifying, Adam. For those who haven't experienced qualifying on these super speedways, I mean, tell us a little bit about some of the tricks that these drivers have to know about.
Yeah, you have to really know how to manage that draft, and basically do what you can to avoid getting yourself into trouble, trying to leave yourself an out at times when things get a little too nuts, but also not to the point where you're going to lose the draft, because there's in these trucks especially, there's a huge speed differential between if you're in the draft versus out of the draft. So you definitely need to do what you can to stay in that tow of the cars in trucks in front of you. So that's going to be one thing, is really just managing that. If we get to a point, I do believe we will, at a 75 lap race distance today, we will get to a point where we'll have a pit stop. That's going to be the other thing too, getting on and off pit road, mostly on, because you'll be seeing some big packs try to go from 195 miles an hour down to that pit road speed limit, and things can get hairy quick.
And we're waiting for those first laps to come in. While we're waiting for that, we do have time to mention that we have a special contest happening here in December on GSRC. Make sure and subscribe to the channel, not just because you get to watch all kinds of awesome races here, but also because we are doing a giveaway for the holidays. On December 21st, we will pick 2 winners who are subscribed to this channel that get to win an item of their choice from our merchandise store. You can pick anything on the store that you want. And there you see a few of the items that you can win there. All you got to do is be subscribed by the 21st. We will choose one subscriber who has subscribed before December and one who has subscribed during December. So extra incentive to get in there if you haven't yet already. So we watch Josh Bonwell come around the tri-oval now. If you're not used to Talladega, if you're used to Daytona more so, just a reminder that the finish line is here instead. It's after the tri-oval. So they do need to get around that. If they start to get a little tangled up in that little kink there on the front stretch, you got to make sure that you can keep the momentum going if you have some sort of wild finish there at the end.
Yeah, that's going to be one thing definitely that we're going to have to watch out for. That's the thing, is that this is a really kind of a different thing with the trucks. I mean, we see a lot with cup cars and everything else racing around Talladega. A lot of people might be more familiar with the cup cars. These trucks, it's so momentum based.
Right now, momentum trying to be carried on the qualifying, as watching Jeff Radke try to get his one and only lap time in. They have only 1 lap to qualify here in this series, which is a bit unusual. Usually in most we see at least 2, sometimes 3, and rare occasions they get 4. Stephen Fogel also coming around, the number 11, getting his time down. 55.4 is good enough for what was 10th place, and he gets bumped down to 11th immediately.
You know, you see just how close qualifying is at a place like this, where you got top 14, now 15 vehicles, all within a tenth of a second of each other. So, excuse me, not a lot of gap between, in the field. So you want to be careful. There's also the strategy here that you might see some people pull off in qualifying, Joe, where they kind of bomb their qualifying a little bit and purposely try to start in the back. And we're already seeing that with the likes of Jim Ott and Heath Olsen setting very slow times.
Yeah, at this point, I see we're waiting on Jeff Radke, just puts his in at a 55.7. That's going to put him 25th, about 0.2 down. Jacoby, who was fast last week, he comes across the line and looks like he was on his out lap. Is he going to have enough time, though? Because there's about 40 seconds left. He might wind up in the back here. Well, that'll be quite a climb for him.
Yeah, that, like I say, that might be part of the strategy, but we still have a number of guys that have not set times yet. One of those, Matthew Lee, coming around. See what he is able to put on the board here.
One of our winners for this season, the 04, past the pit entry and through the tri-oval, is just barely going to have enough time, as we've got about 10 seconds left to cross the line here. Let's see what it is. It's a 55.495. That's going to put him up to 8th. A nice top 10 start for him. And Jacoby, is he going to get across the line?
Nope, he won't.
So, checkered flag is out. That ends our qualifying. Let's go through your starting order for today. It's Raymond Rittenauer starting on the pole with Matt Quick behind him in second. Then on the second row, it's Josh Bonwell in third. Aaron Smith starts P4, followed by Peyton Howell in the fifth position. On his outside, it's David Santini. Jade Bell starts in seventh. Then Matthew Lee, we watched his late qualifying, gets in eighth place. Andrew Melvin will be starting ninth. And Jeremy Crandall starts in 10th.
Yeah, taking a look at 11th on the grid. Now we got Ray Jackson. Alongside him be Julia McLean. Row 7's going to belong to Davey Hendricks and Troy Cook. Row 8, Tyler Pluff, Jeffrey Smith. Row 9's going to go to Stephen Fogel and Kevin Sargent. Row 10, Eli Warren and John Jenkins starting on the outside of him.
In 21st, it's going to be Steve McGaffey, followed by Ronald Goodson in 22nd. Tobias Eckenberg will be starting 23rd. P24 goes to Jose Medina. Then you've got James Simmons in 25th behind them. Outside of him is RJ Corson in 26. Jeff Radke managed to get a time in to put himself in 27th. Brandon Bullock in 28th and Jim Ott in 29th. The last driver to qualify was in 30th, and that is Heath Olson.
And the rest of these guys did not get down in time. We saw Jason Jacoby not make it to the line in time. Clint Cox is going to start on the outside of him. Travis Rucker, Jared Ickes are going to make up row 17. Brad Bothwell and Dylan Alton are going to make up row 18. Row 19 is going to go to Gregory Brandenburg and Kenneth McCulloch. David McCulloch is going to start row 20, and Joshua Cadell will be alongside him. Just a few more cars, so I'll go ahead and take them out here. William Rucker and Tim No will make up the row 21, and starting shotgun on the field today is going to be Robert Rombo.
A lot of drivers. They actually had to pre-qualify to get into this session. So this is the cream of the crop that's in here competing. And just to tell you how intense it is, if you've tuned in for the first time, they've got a lot of prizes they're fighting for. Even in today's race itself, $75 goes to the race winner. And then $100 more are going to be handed out to a random driver who completes at least 80% of the laps. And then the champion of the entire season has a choice of either a Hoisingfeld sprint pedals or $500 in cash. Now, the top 4 in points into the last round will be the ones eligible for that prize. So a lot of tension out there for what is quite a bit of pocket change here for drivers at this level of racing.
I mean, this time of year, if $75 dropped in my lap, I would not complain. I mean,
that's a couple Christmas presents right there.
Yeah, it is. It is.
As they work their way around here on the pace lap, then we'll get going racing for 75. And they do have one drop week in that championship, but it cannot be that last race in the points, of course. And as we said, they do that playoff for the final race where it's down to the final top 4 in the points. And I mentioned a little bit earlier, they do have penalty and bonus points. It's kind of mixes up the championship order. They get 5 points for completing half the race and still be running at the end. So 50% of the laps, and you get the car back out there and keep it going. They get 3 points if they have a no incident race. And then they lose a point for every 4X they get. So they have a car contact that's a little rough out there in the bump drafting, Adam. They're going to lose championship points.
Yeah, and that's you got to be careful with that. You got to manage that. That's another thing too, is that closing distance, because with this big of a draft that's in these trucks, well, you start to close up in a hurry, and if you lose control of that, you'll be getting into the guy in front of you harder than what you want. Could potentially get an accidental 4X. It really doesn't do a lot of you either damage, but it still can hurt. Pace car getting ready to pull off.
We've got a lot of drivers who are starting in pit lane, some of which were qualified up at the front. Very curious. I saw Rittenauer in pit lane. So we'll try and figure out if that was some sort of penalty from the stewards or if that was something that he chose on his own. As the pace car is in now, Josh Bonwell has control of the field, waiting on the inside of that number 56. Green flag comes out. They all get on the loud pedal as they start to speed up, gain momentum here coming down into turn 1. Nice, calm start. Didn't see anybody up at the front really jump it too much, as they don't really want to usually here on these super speedway races.
Yeah, if you get it too far out in front here at the start, you're just going to get swallowed up. Looks like we got an accident in turn 2.
See, Heath Olsen stopped. Also, Jason Jacoby. What happened here? It looks like it was going into turn 1. Jacoby and Olsen made contact on the very first lap in the very first corner. And if we want a good view from above, Jim Ott was inches away from joining this. You can see it right there. Woo.
Switching over to that view from above, and you will get that appreciation just how close this was. And it's things like this is why a lot of those guys probably decided to go ahead and start in the pits and try to miss some of that. But that's even a little bit too early for those guys' taste, I imagine. We at least wanted to get up to speed. We didn't even have a chance to do that. It usually takes a full lap to get up to speed in these trucks.
Exactly. So bit unusual that we have an incident going into turn 1 at Talladega. All the drivers are cycling back around to try and catch up to the pace car now. Wonder if Ott was even aware that he was so close to that happening. If he's got a spotter, either he's not going to tell him so that he stays calm, or he's going to tell him that he's the luckiest man alive right now. As now we're starting to get slowed up behind that pace car. Getting a little info from the stewards here. Looks like they're putting it on the 88 potentially, which would be Jacoby. No pit stops, or at least I would not expect pit stops this time through. They do have limited fuel cells here in this series, so they cannot make it on one or on a single tank rather. So they will be coming in at some point.
Yeah, even if with a 75 lap race distance, even if you had the full fuel cells, I don't think you'd have enough to make to not have to stop. So that might be enough to get us 2 stops here. I see the fuel limits at 65%, so yeah, that might be enough to have to force 2 stops as the race goes along. We'll have to see. Kind of a lot. It depends on just how much cautions or how many cautions we see.
Well, a few drivers are taking it. Aaron Smith is in. Looks like Melvin is pitting. I see Jeffrey Smith has pitted. Pluff is in his stall. These are all drivers that were out there already. I wonder if they're just thinking of topping up. Maybe they think they could stretch it to a single more stop at the end, potentially. You don't know.
Some of it might just be getting them back again. Stay in the back. We didn't like what we saw here in that first lap. Try to ride around a little bit. And sometimes at these restrictor plate races, Joe, when you see kind of a very, very early lap 1 or 2 incident, sometimes, not all the time, sometimes it has a complete opposite effect of what I'm about to tell you, but sometimes it has a calming effect on the field. People are like, okay, that was a little too crazy, too early, let's take it easy here and try to click off some laps.
Yeah, I have to imagine that's what probably those drivers in the back are thinking at this point. So they should be out of most of the trouble and just be able to sort of hang back and let the race come to them from here. As shouldn't have any lapped cars, thankfully. That actually worked out for those drivers really well who did start from pit lane, because if it had gone green, they would have been out of the draft and could have gone a lap down.
Yeah, that's they would have had a few laps, but not always. And the larger pack is going to be the fastest pack around here. So if you're only in a pack of 4 or 5 trucks, yeah, eventually you're going to have to watch out for that. But they would have had still at least a little while before that would have came to pass.
Interesting to note, looking through some of the stats of the drivers so far, even though we've only had 2 rounds, we have no drivers that have been in the top 5 twice. So everybody has had at least one sort of bad race up there at the top of the field. In fact, checking through, I'm not seeing anybody who with 2 races in the top 10 even. So very, very mixed up field. Should help to keep those points tight, as I think we're going to get the 1 to go this time by. Now come across the line.
Nope. Looks like we're going to be going around at least 2 more times here.
Knowing that, these laps do take a while here under caution at Talladega. So we're going to take a quick break here on the Global Sim Racing channel. We'll come back with the green flag restart here for round 3 of the FEG PC iRacing Flea Market Winter Truck Series. Welcome back to Talladega Superspeedway. We are getting ready for our first restart. We had a quick caution after the initial green here, and we're going to see Josh Bonwell still up at the front. A few trucks did get their lead lap back, as some had somehow fallen off of the lead lap. Need to try and look into that to see exactly what caused that. But they come around turns 3 and 4. The Mustang pace car will release them. Let's hope we get a little bit more green flag racing. Very unusual for us to see an incident coming into turn 1 here at a track like this in a series with as much talent as we have here.
Yeah, to give you an idea of how these first 5 laps have gone, David McCulloch just sent the fastest lap of the race on a wave around. So we'll see if we can do better here.
Well, that's a record that won't last very long in this race, so let's see how it stands after we get some green down there. Now, checking up behind our leader who has control, Bonwell keeping the field at pace speed as he waits to accelerate away. Giving him a long time. Green flag comes out. Now he's got to go. Everybody follows in line as they start to pick up speed up to 120 miles an hour, 130 miles an hour. This is where we had our problems before, down through turn 1. You can see a bit of a breakup at the back of the field as we've got something of a gap before we get to Rittenhour. But otherwise, this is looking a lot more calm.
Yeah, just seeing the usual thing that happens with some guys lagging back and already seeing a little bit of pushing going on. David Santini all over the back of Peyton Howell. He's going to push him up in front of Bodwell, and he's going to slide down, take the lead of this race for a short time here.
Peyton Howell, your new leader in the car number 19, truck number 19, excuse me. Bonwell behind him in second. Bonwell, though, he's going to go up high very early in front of Santini with not much space to spare. This is very early in the race for moves like that. We're only kicking off lap 7 here.
I think some of these guys, too, are just trying to feel out what each other can do in particular. I'll be totally honest, not sure how often some of these guys run around each other, but might just be trying to get used. Who's going to be a good pusher? Who's going to be a good leader? And see where we go. I already see one car ducking below the yellow line there. It looks like that's Matthew Lee. Matthew Lee looks like he's looking for a gap to come on. Either that or he's going to drop to the back. All right, he's going to slide back on the track here.
We used fuel strategy to great effect last time, so maybe just wanting to slip farther down the field and be able to lift a little on these straights. Meanwhile, up at the front, Santini being challenged by Cook. No, excuse me, that's Crandall in the number 73. The blue truck you see starting to get a little bit of a nose ahead. I believe he's going to lead this lap. He's being pushed by Cook and the number 21 as they come across. Cook gets second place this time around. Up on the high side. Woo! A big weave up high there for Peyton Howell. Almost got into the 12 of Warren. Oh, we got a spin at the front.
Oh,
Both leaders taken out. Everybody scatters to try and avoid, but unfortunately it's turning into the big one early.
Lots and lots of cars involved in that one.
It's to be expected when it starts up at the absolute front of the field. That was the 21 of Cook turning Crandall in the 73. He came down into the side of Bonwell. That put him in front of Santini with no place to go. And then from there, take your pick. Just about everybody involved.
I was just getting ready to comment on just how aggressive he was pushing, and the fact that in these fixed setups you can then do that a little bit longer because they got the grills pretty wide open. But when you push like that, oftentimes things happen, and just calamity on a backstretch. I think that probably involved 18, 20 trucks.
Dylan Altum had a magnificent bit of avoidance. I know we've gone away from the replay, but he weaved his way through. Looks like we can pull this back up. He didn't do a whole lot of movement. He just kind of kept calm, picked his way through carefully. We see a little bit after the incident here. Johnson here. There's nothing drastic in anything he did. Looks like we're coming onto the tri-oval, so this will be on the backstretch. We'll wait just a little here on board. At the time, he was well into the mid-pack, so he had a lot of trucks to try and avoid. Getting a little bit of dicey in front of him. Everybody jostling for position. You could see the accident start to happen in front of him there. Seas almost parted in front of him, essentially. Woo! 41 across his nose, though.
That was his Cole Trickle Days of Thunder moment for the race, hopefully.
Absolutely. Everybody's coming in for stops, it looks like. I see Medina and McLean have stayed out, but everybody else appears to be coming in. I think William Rucker also one of the other few that is staying out, but he was already in the pits on that previous caution. Looks like I think Ix maybe stayed out. Troy Cook returns despite the damage on his truck, and he's going to be back in 5th place, but he took a good shot to the nose.
Yeah, that's That's key in these trucks. And if you happen, since we got a little time to expand on it, if you happen to be looking at the release notes for the new build that's going to be coming out tomorrow, damage on the front of these trucks is about to become even more sensitive. But already with the amount of damage that he has, he's going to have to watch his water and oil temperatures here for the rest of the race. And that's he might have to switch roles. So maybe not push as much, maybe try to lead as much. But he also has that damage on the front, so he might not be a good leader. So it puts you in a big bind with something like that.
Remember how we had drivers who didn't set times in the qualifying? And, well, we wondered if maybe they were going to try and avoid the problems and work their way up front. Well, let's take a look at our top 10 and where they started. Medina was 24th on the grid. McLean was 12th, so that's a bit in the mid-pack. Ix didn't put a qualifying time in. Jared has gone from 34th to 3rd now. Travis Rucker followed similar pattern. He was 33rd to 4th. You get to William Rucker as well, 41st to 6th here. Eli Warren, 19th to 7th. Dylan Alton, 36th to 8th. These are a lot of drivers who have used this strategy to great effect.
Yeah, we're only just now running around on lap 10. So we still got, 65 more laps to go here, as it looks like Medina is going to go ahead and come in. Or is he vacant? Nope, John McClain's going to come in as well. Vormwald, I'll give him the wave around whenever we go to 1 to go. He had some connection issues at the start of this race. So your lead truck behind the pace car is 2 laps down, will eventually be 1 lap down here when they come across the line.
So how is this going to change the front? Looks like Jared Ix will be the lead car once they get that wave around. Jared appropriately running the number 1, the Pennsylvania driver today. You talked about the release notes that we just got to read through and whatnot. The one thing that I'm hoping we don't see show up here that they're introducing is they are now going to have caution laps not count for the dirt races. Just like they do in real life. So please, nobody do that here on Talladega. We don't need the races any longer.
Oh, man, it's as it is. It's already, I think we're working 2.5-minute caution laps. I think that sounds about right.
Something like that, yeah. And we do have a limit of 45 minutes, I'm seeing, on this race. So we could be cut short here today for these
2 hours, 45 minutes.
Yes, helps if I read the whole thing, Adam,
It's okay. We will hold it against you this time.
Yes, exactly. So we probably won't be cut off then. If we get 2 hours and 45 minutes with 75 laps, that is a race gone very, very wrong here today. Ix up at the front, waiting for Vormwald to take his wave around, and should be able to get that here soon. Not seeing anybody who has not been in the pits, whether it's from a pit start or having come in here with our 2 cautions. We're only 11 laps in, so everybody already playing some strategy games very early.
Almost kind of like I think some of these guys, given the early cautions here and everything, are going to start trying to play it more like a road course in the pit strategy, and try to maybe play it a little bit on the backwards side of things, and just try to get to that lap 75. So that could be interesting here. And I think at this point too, you might be running enough caution laps. You might be getting close to where you're not having to potentially worry about having 2 green flag stops. Seeing a lot of guys come in, so I think a lot of guys are figuring they might be getting to the point where they're close.
That's an interesting way to play it. I guess forward thinking could wind up paying off. It did for Lee last race. As let's see, are we going to get too wide here? Vormwald gets his wave around. Here we go. Going to go racing next time by. Rittenauer coming in another time. Obviously, he's got his towel with him, so he should be good to go in the vast universe. Hopefully we have some Douglas Adams fans out there who actually get that joke, but get restarted here on lap 13. Let's hope we get a little bit more green flag racing. We did go racing for a while, but boy, we were talking about it a little bit behind the scenes here in our tech chat. There's some aggressive moves going on here.
Yeah, aggressive to the point that it's. You mean it's a long. Well, 75 laps at Talladega can take a while if you're not careful, and if you have too much aggressiveness going on, then you're going to be sitting here even a long time. Because if you think about it, all right, you want to run even half the race under caution. Well, that's still going to be driving around this place over an hour under yellow flag conditions. And I don't think anybody wants that. So hopefully that was enough that some of these guys kind of tone it down just a little bit and start just turning laps and clicking them off and save the aggressiveness for the end.
Well, the good news is two good things, really. They have live stewards here, so I think if things get ridiculous, they can try and remove people or change things up. They can do single file restarts, which they did last week, by the way, to try and clean things up a little bit. They also have the incident limit, 13 incidents. Just a reminder if you're just joining us. So we could see drivers disappear, not from damage, but just from being removed from the server for being a little bit too sloppy out there. And fewer trucks means that hopefully a little bit easier to get some green flag racing in. Let's get that green flag racing in now, because the Mustang pace car now heads into pit lane with Ix having control of the field. He's going to hold them up a little bit, just like we saw before from Bonwell. Troy Cook to his outside. The front of that truck looking pretty decent despite making contact that started that last wreck. Let's hope that he's got that top speed. Green flag is out. The number one gets it going. And as they start to pick up, he did get a little bit of a jump over those behind him. He might want to actually pull up into the high lane here, Adam, and get with Troy Cook so that he doesn't give a run to the number 12 of Warren.
I'm not a fan of necessarily of calling people out, and I'm not necessarily doing it here, but after what he saw probably on that last caution, I don't know if he wanted to be in front of Troy Cook here. He probably wants to observe him just a little while and see if the aggressiveness is kind of toned down just a little bit before he would do that. But you did see there that he did get that jump out in front, and you can see how fast everybody caught back up to him. That's why I don't want to get that huge jump.
To be fair, I don't think that's calling out. I think that's just a rational observation. So it did give the lead up to Troy Cook. He's not the pusher now. He is the pushee, as Dylan Alton is behind him. Ix slots into third. In fourth place, Eli Warren stays single file, and it's the same thing with fifth place with Hendricks. Finally get too wide. Oh, we got an accident behind them. I see McLean involved in that. Looks like McLean is in there.
Yeah, it was James Simmons was the one that went for the ride.
Yeah, Simmons got into McLean, the number 35. It looks like the 35 actually came down on him here. And then Dino was that truck that ran into him, just T-boned him there. He blew his engine with that. They have no spare truck, so his day is done.
I think James Simmons just put on a show about the closest you can get to turning one of these trucks over at Talladega without actually turning it over, because I could have sworn he was going to go up on his lid there, and he definitely caught some air. Not the way he wanted his day to go, though, that's for sure.
Let's look at it from another angle. I think if we want a good onboard, RJ Corson was the one immediately behind them. Avoided disaster. Let's... Well, yeah, it was him and McGaffey, I think, was the light blue one in front of him. Both of them just barely getting away from that. I think there was a little bit of contact also for Jim Ott. Let's watch from the nose cam here. Let's see how absolutely close he got to touching. Very obvious there how much of a squeeze that was.
Anybody need a change of underwear? I think I know a guy.
Oh, man. And that sent some people into pit lane, but not for scheduled work. This time it looks like mostly everybody who came in went down in there for repairs. There's some bad hits there on that accident, even though it didn't involve very many trucks. Oh, and I spoke too soon. We got a few in the mid-pack that look like they are coming in for scheduled work. Jade Bell looks to be one of them. Jeff Radke, another one. Ooh, Radke actually missed his stall. See them coming down pit lane. Just a smattering of them, not a whole lot. It's a bit of a mixed bag this time. Davey Hendricks, one of those. Rittenauer as well. A few of them getting back actually before the line is even gone by here out on track. So they're slotting back into place, not too poorly. All right, so we've had some interesting incidents so far, to say the least, Adam. And let's say you're on the box. Let's say you're the crew chief for one of these drivers. What are you telling your driver now at this point going into this race? Are you calming them down? I mean, what are you dealing with?
I'm saying find 4 buddies and run in the very back. 3 or 4 seconds off. Honestly, I've been in races like this before. These tracks, and that's there's something in the water at this point that they're not staying off each other, and you don't want to get caught up in that mess just yet.
That sounds like pretty sound advice to me. Troy Cook, who is now our new leader after that restart, still has Altum behind him. Ix did wind up falling into third. They do have a lap truck in there. That's Brandon Bullock, who currently runs in 36th. We're missing a number of drivers already. Jacoby has DNF'd Goodson, Sargent, Fogel, Bonwell is out, Ott is gone. A few are taking repairs. I assume they intend to try and get back out since there are bonus points for finishing at least half the race. I see No has been in for about 14 minutes, unfortunately. Howell, about 10 minutes himself. I see Simmons recently, after this incident, is still getting repairs. He's been in there for about 4 minutes. Same thing with Medina. We'll see if they return to the track. We'll keep you updated on their progress. Ooh, and Ix is hitting this time. All right. I think I've got a handle on most oval strategy here, Adam, but you're more of an oval fiend than I am. I mean, is this a ploy to just get to the back? Is that what's going on?
It could be. You got Ix, Cox, Rucker, McCulloch, Brandenburg. Brandenburg's been trying to stay in the back this entire time. I think it's a combination of just trying to keep full fuel in the thing and trying to stay a little bit maybe in the back and trying to see if things will just calm down a little bit before you actually go hard racing.
Just not used to drivers coming in on that second lap when they are on the lead lap. That's usually when you see the lapped cars or lap trucks coming in. And a number of them have done that this time. But this 43 truck field has certainly been whittled down a little bit. They're starting to drop. We're not double file yet, so we won't be going green this next time by. As we look back from the pace car at them catching up behind. Once again, want to give a little bit of a shout to our sponsors with a big thank you. If you want to check them out, one of our sponsors is FEG PC. You can find them at fegpc.net. And also the other one is the iRacing Flea Market. They are in a link in the YouTube description below. They are on Facebook, and that's where you can get a lot of stuff for your sim rig. If you want to try and get something maybe a little bit used, gently used, and are okay with that. I know my the G27 that I have in front of me actually was used by one of our own team members, Adam. I didn't get it from the iRacing Flea Market, but I can vouch for this thing has been very hardy and served me well, so used equipment is worth getting.
Yeah, my G27 I have here in front of me is used from another iRacer, and it's done me well since, what was that Majors 500 before you even knew who I was, and you commented in the middle of the race, who's that guy? I remember that one. It was after that race I got that G27. I think that might have been 2015 or 2016. I had to put you on the spot there.
If it tells you how many we've done at this point, I don't even remember.
You don't
doing
remember.
That.
I know. It's all right.
More pit stops here. What a bizarre race.
They're just keeping full fuel on them here at this point, I think.
Yeah, that seems to be the case.
Because this race cannot keep up like this. We'll just simply run out of vehicles before if it does. But it's going to be one of those things that it's you keep full fuel on it, because eventually we're going to break out in a long green flag stretch here.
Oh, and it looks like we have now lost Heath Olsen as well. Not entirely sure what happened, but he was manually removed. So apparently the stewards were, I'm not seeing that he was on track. I'm not sure if he was maybe having a discussion and they decided it was a distraction or what. But Heath Olsen is
he just plowed into David McCullough under.
We're getting information from race control. He is now on a 2-race suspension.
He just plowed under David McCullough under yellow. Yeah.
That seems reasonable after that. We never like to see that. Usually the majority of drivers, if you're watching some of iRacing here for the first time, that is highly unusual in most series in official racing and in private racing like we have here. So that don't expect that to happen if you join iRacing. Drivers are very, very much frowned upon for doing anything of that nature. We are double file now, so we will finally get to go racing once again. Troy Cook, your leader. Dylan Altum will be to his outside, so we won't be pushing. Instead, Eli Warren will be behind Tony Cook this time.
Yeah, I think I'm going back and I'm looking, and it does seem like there was a bit of history between Olsen and McCullough going back a little ways in this race too. So don't think that was a one-time thing or a one-time incident there that caused that. Of course, 2-race suspension, that's pretty steep, so admins probably saw that too.
Yeah, a bit of timeout should give him a chance to cool down for sure. All right, the pace car is in, and now Troy Cook has control of the field. He's waiting for the green flag to come out. He doesn't want to get a start like we saw with Ix before. Green flag is out. They start to accelerate away. Now, Altum, not the best of starts, and look at that. Maybe that was planned.
That's teammates working together there.
Yeah,
that's what that was. And now Troy Cook's getting the push from Dylan Alton.
Wow, very smooth move from both of them. Up on the high side, that leaves Eckenberg hung out to dry. He starts to fall back with nobody to help him for quite a while. So it's a little ways down to the number 41 of Corson. Will be the first to try and push him, so everybody starts to stream by on the low side. McGaffey is going to get through. Warren as well. They are promoted to 4th and 3rd respectively.
Now, the other part I'm going to be watching out for here over the next couple of laps, especially if we start seeing some green flag running, is there aren't very many trucks in this lead group that don't have some sort of damage, but there are a few. Are those trucks without damage going to be able to take advantage of that and maybe try to rise to the top of this field about over the next 10, 15 laps or so?
I suspect they will. The way that it's so important to keep things clean here. As long as they get that green flag racing, they should be able to start to make progress. Top 3, speaking of which, are breaking away a little bit from 4th place McGaffey and the number 14. He's going to be able to use that slipstream to continue to close back in, so it's not dire for him yet, but interesting that he's starting to fall back a little bit. Very single file right now.
Yeah, you have to go back to almost about 16th, 18th position before you start finding some double file racing.
Yeah, it's back in the second pack that we're looking at right here. That's being led by Jenkins on the low side. That's in the number 5. Then you've got William Rucker behind him, and that's Ix in there. 3rd truck in line on the low side. He's got a ways to go to get back to the front. Bothwell is falling back up in front, up on the high side of him. So is Caudill. Looks like they're not interested in really doing anything too crazy. Ix, though, giving a big bump to the number 31 in front of him. Looks like he's
You gotta
ready
be
to
careful.
go.
Yeah, you gotta be careful with those bumps. But now here we go. Now we're getting racy back here.
And you can
That outside line trying to come in.
Yeah, I was going to say, you can see from that onboard up front, we got 2 lines going. And it goes back to 4th or 5th place, it looks like. Believe that is Melvin, Andrew Melvin, in the number 37 at the lead of the high line. And he's got about 5 trucks, including himself.
Now, here's where you need patience, because that outside line, there's going to be times where it doesn't feel like it's actually making up ground. But if you keep with it and you stay in line, I'm already seeing somebody stepping out and not doing what I'm telling you to do. But if you stay in line, you'll get that momentum going, and you'll be able to start working your way very slowly up to the front.
A bit of a bobble down on the low side. That was Eckenberg in the 51, almost getting together with Smith, Jeffrey Smith. They managed to stay out of each other, but there was a bobble into turn 3 that thankfully didn't come to a wreck. That certainly forced Smith to back off quite a bit. Excuse me, that was McLean behind him in 35, rather. Meanwhile, I don't think we've reported on this. It's a scorcher here in Alabama. Look at the track temperature.
Yeah, and that's actually gone up a little bit. We were in practice, I think we were at 121 or 122, now up to 124. So, sun beating down on this track, and yes, believe it or not, that can affect tire wear. Even at Talladega, people don't usually equate tire wear and Talladega together, but at the end of the life on these tires, especially on that low line, it'll be a little bit tougher to hold it down next to that yellow line.
That high line is not rolling very well right now as we ride on board with our leader, Cook. Let's see if he gets a little bit of help from Altum behind him, if his teammate wants to give a shove to try and go a little faster, if he's content to let them pull the train along. Ooh, now we got another one ducking up high. That is Eckenberg in the 51. He comes back down low, just as Aaron Smith in that yellow truck has a huge run, but I'm not sure he can go anywhere with this because he's all by his lonesome, but wow, he is flying. What in the world?
Yeah, that side draft playing a role. He basically, those guys weren't staying with him. They're on the high side. He's like, forget it, I'm going to do my own thing, and he's going. And it looks like Eckenberg's trying to go right along with Aaron Smith here. So it's side draft, seeing how big of an important role that could play here.
That was a phenomenal bit of driving from the number 70.
But you see it, Joe, that side draft got him up there, but without help, without those other guys sticking with him, it's going to be a little harder now to maintain that. He got that good push, and it's hard to maintain after a while. In fact, Aaron Smith now cut down and leave Eckenberg out there to dry.
Yeah, it all went away suddenly for the number 51. We're a third of the way through the race now, but the 70 is going to try it again. He finds the momentum, goes up to the high side. The 51's not there to help, or at least not close enough to help down the backstretch. Eckenberg closing a little bit. Can the heat also affect how the car handles into the corner? Because I'm seeing a lot of bobbing and weaving from these trucks when they get into the turns.
Later in the run, yes, it can affect that a little bit. But still, considering the fact we've had a lot of yellow flag laps, I don't know if these guys have actually changed tires yet or not, but it probably really wouldn't matter yet or not. I think that not so much. I think that's just a lot of guys trying to stay really close to each other in the draft here and trying to already start trying to make some moves. So a little bit of pushing is going to cause that. Just trying to see where that corner entry is. Because even in these trucks, if you're tucked right up underneath the rear spoiler, sometimes that corner entry could be a little hard to see.
The 51 certainly learned a trick from the 70 because Eckenberg used that side draft to now get up to 4th place. He's stalling out a little bit here through 3 and 4, and now everybody's trying this move. Eli Warren up to the high side. They just about have a train going because it's 3 trucks now up on the high line. Oh, is Cook maybe going to abandon his teammates? Not quite.
I think he's just doing his best to try to stall out that run right there by moving around some. And so far, I think it's working. It's nobody's going to want to side draft you if you're trying to occupy going up a half lane, coming down a half lane, going up a half lane. It makes people a little weary about being around you in the side draft. And yeah, that is an actual strategy.
Altum, in the meantime, gives him a nice little push, a gentle push down the backstretch to the 21. As behind them, too wide for third place with Warren on the high side, McGaffey on the low side, Eckenberg also up high. They've dropped the number 70 of Smith in the meantime. I'm not sure what happened to him, but he's fallen like a rock. He's in that yellow truck there you see there on screen. Maybe intentionally fell back, decided his strategy wasn't working like he hoped. And the high line disappears. 12 gets low, the 51 gets low. 41 now is starting to climb up the order. Corson, seeing if he can use it. Hicks, in the meantime, has come back forward. We saw him in the purple truck. The number 1 is up to 13th now.
There's a lot of still moving around. Oh man, Eli Warren almost making contact there.
This is some of the dicier racing I've ever seen here on Superspeedway racing. Usually, especially this early in the race, everybody just kind of chilling out and looking to get laps in, but everybody is they are on a mission to kind of do their own thing here today.
They are, and they got to be careful here because they're getting ready to come up on Brandon Bullock, who is running about 35 miles an hour slower than they are. And if they're dicing it up whenever they get to him and not running single file, that track's going to close up in a hurry. He is going into the tri-oval now, and you see the leaders now starting to enter the tri-oval.
And again, if you're wondering why he would be out racing at this low of a speed, they do get bonus points, a fair amount of bonus points for finishing half the race and being running when the checkered flag falls. So that's probably why we're seeing that damage of a car stay out. Bullock is going to duck down onto the apron. Nice call from the 17. He doesn't get in the way of anybody.
Yeah, ultimately, it worked out. Looking at Eli Warren again, I thought for a second he might try to stick his nose under Dylan Altum. Ultimately decided better, which is probably the good move here at this point, as the lead pack has gone back to mostly single file here.
He ultimately decided, was that intentional?
Maybe.
You can claim it if you want it.
No, I can't claim that. I can't do it.
McGaffey, though, falling back a bit and then coming back forward. The 14 had a big gap down the backstretch and has reeled it back in. Take your pick on whether we've got a high side or not, because every other lap it disappears and then it comes back. This time it's Jade Bell and Robert Vormwald who got his lap back. Wow, the number 10 was a lap down earlier on in this race, and he's back in it. Oh, but he got a big wobble down low. 2 trucks to the inside wall. We're going to get a caution. That's Hendricks and the number 38, and McLean in the 35. No caution.
Julia McCain still parked on the backstretch, not moving here.
It started with McLean getting loose off the corner. It's the black truck that you see there. Is going to hit Hendricks. Both of them with very hard hits to the inside wall. 35 finally eventually takes a tow. 38 looks like he tried to drive it back.
So, the biggest thing is, though, we stay green.
Yeah, absolutely. With Cook still your leader, Altum still in second, and Warren in third. Got another line starting to form up high. And it looks like the 70 of Smith is joining it again. Jade Bell is in there in the number 30. That's the dark truck that you see. And watch from Bell's perspective. with clear track in front of him. And actually quite a bit of speed as he's starting to pull up there on Warren in the number 12. Whoa, way high, almost a third line there for Aaron Smith as he drifts up and starts to fall back. Not sure what caused that.
Might have just kind of just found himself up there, but ultimately what really cost him going that high, yeah, it looks like he just found himself up there. That cost him a lot of time, but you get a little bit of rundown off that bank, and he kind of made up for it a little bit here and starting to make back some of that ground he lost. Nice. Oh, green flag pit stops. Here we go.
Whoa!
That was unexpected.
That was sudden.
I don't think anybody was expecting that. That was almost a calamity as the two teammates decided at the last second that they were going to come down pit road. I didn't hear
inquisition of pit calls. That was
I didn't hear any news or any chatter about any kind of pit stops coming over the radio in a restrictor plate race. That could almost be disaster, and we almost had disaster there.
Altum's going already. It's a very quick stop. Cook waiting for his tires. Is he going to be able to stay with his teammate? Oh, it's a long one for Cook. Cook is in very long. He might have a speeding penalty. And for Altum, this is disaster as well because his partner's gone.
Yeah, I would be surprised for him to have a speeding penalty. He looked like he was going in really hot. That entire lead pack had to get out of the gas.
Got more of them.
Whenever that happened. Oh, yeah, he was still going 90 miles an hour almost when he came across the line.
And Warren pits along with McGaffey. So a lap down goes our former leader. You could see him on the low side there as he was exiting the pits. And oh, McGaffey! McGaffey missed his pit stall by about a mile. The 14, unfortunately, just not used to these low speeds, it seems, as we're going to watch the replay of his pit entry here. Virtual crew sent flying. Everybody awaiting the day that iRacing animates your pit crew member jumping off the hood of the car. So, some very sloppy stops here under green are very costly for our front runners as they'll come out with nobody to work with. We come back to our lead runners. Ratke currently up at the front. Bell is on the low side.
Yeah, watching that next group that's coming down, see if any of them have problems. It's really easy to just to blow past your pit stall here. I think everybody's taking a turn at Talladega or Daytona of going through their stall. Looking at Tyler Pluff, he missed his pit stall. He had to back up. Same with trying to see who's that behind him. Yeah, Jeffrey Smith had to back up.
Well, we found the people who have not practiced their pit stops coming into today, it seems. Oh, that is so costly for them. The front runners continue to stay out as they go by Steve McGaffey, who stays a lap down. And with all these mixed sets of tires and speed out there, it's getting likely that we could get a caution because everybody's blowing by one another. You can see the speed difference. If you have just come out of the pits and you are a lap down, this is not looking good right now. We're going to hope that everybody stays clean.
And of course, those the teammates of Altum and Cook got broken up. I mean, Altum right now finding himself only with him and Warren to work with now. Trying to see officially when they come across the line here what spots they'll be in as pit stop still cycling through. So they're in 11th and 12th, and Altum came in second.
Problems pitted in. Sorry, Jade Bell might actually go back onto the track. Ooh, this is going to be a black flag for the number 30. He came into the pits, and oh, keep it pointed forward. Keep it pointed forward. Okay, he's still going, but he's struggling to get it going again. The number 30 is just having a hell of a time.
Yeah, not sure what was going on there. Now not sure why he's running so far off the apron here.
Let's look at the replay on the pit entry, because that's where it all started. He was coming in with a bunch of other trucks and just came in way too hot, got into the grass. I don't know why he decided to take it back onto the track, though. A little bit of a late call.
It's something happened here to Brandon Bullock.
Okay, so he's
smoking badly. Okay, he blew his engine coming out of 4. He's just trying to get it back around.
And on the replay, we saw that the 30 actually did not go through the entrance cone. So I don't think he will get a black flag, but it's still incredibly costly for him. So who's looking to inherit the lead? I think it's going to be Aaron Smith, but he's on his lonesome. Number 70 is our highest pitter. He's in 7th place. He's already taken his stop. Warren is a ways behind. Warren does have help. That's Altum that is with Warren currently.
And here comes Matt Quick, Ick, and Vormwald now. So this is the last of the cars, I think, here to cycle through.
It absolutely should be. And Aaron Smith, we see on screen, just got passed by Altum and Warren. Warren is your leader now. And is Smith going to have enough speed to try and stay with them? He's just about half a second behind. He's starting to pull him back in. Ooh, that was close. I think he's got the draft, but it was near to him falling too far behind to be able to stay with them. What about our pitters from before? Rittenauer's leading out Ix and Quick. They're not back up onto the banking quite yet. They're onto the backstretch. And it looks like Rittenauer might be your leader.
Just can't believe how well that worked out. If that looks like that's going to hold true, because they got a nice little 3-car pack right here, and those other guys are still quite a bit of ways back behind them. Now they're going to have a larger pack. They're going to have about a 10-car pack here once they get all back lined up. They'll eventually run down these 3, but it'll be a little bit before they do.
Just incredible stuff from our pole sitter to get back up to the front. Ix following him, of course, having started in 34th. Very contrasting fortunes between those two. Haven't really talked about Matt Quick a whole lot, even though he was supposed to start on the front row. I don't believe he did take the start. Now that they've settled out, it is about 5.5 seconds between Warren and Quick. Number 70 of Smith being caught by that group you were talking about, that big group of Rucker, McCullough, Bothwell, the other Rucker, William and Travis, both in there. Clint Cox also in that mix, and Vormwald. Boy, but they are not looking calm here.
I think now they feel like they're in trouble, but the more racier that they get, that's going to allow Rittenauer, Ix, and Quick here to stay up there even longer. Looks like Ick is going to go ahead and step out here, maybe just try to swap spots with Quick. Ick and Quick and Rittenauer, that gets to be a nice little mouthful right there real quick. See what I did there?
Yeah, own Dr. Seuss book forming out on track right now. As they put a lap on, that is the truck of Andrew Melvin, who we mentioned missed his pit stall and has damage as they go by. Gap has indeed increased since being caught by that bigger group. It's 6.5 seconds now, down to McCullough in 4th. But they formed a single file line for much of the front of the pack, and that could get them moving. They come through turns 1 and 2. Only part where they have a double file line is down with Vormwald and Altum. So they could yet try and chase them down. Keep an eye on that gap to see if it starts to close in as things settle down a little bit. We're past halfway after a spate of cautions at the start of this race. Suddenly, the drivers have their trucks underneath them. This second group that we're watching is coming up on Tim No, another lap truck. Now, this group snaking their way through the tri-oval section here at Talladega. This has been kind of the MO all race long. A lot of little erratic racing through the field.
Yeah, and this is about as calm as we've seen it, which is actually says something, because back part of that pack only just now starting to get kind of a little bit more single file and starting to work together. And that's what this pack needs to do. They need to stay single file like that, start running down your top three, because they've got, over 6 seconds now to try to get back up to them. And they might have to spend the entire rest of this race to actually close that distance.
Does seem like they've wised up. It looks like they're working together a lot better. McCullough gets a good push from Bothwell behind him in the 25, just to get that extra little bit of speed through the tri-oval and into turn one. He's actually going to try and bump him in the corner even as we ride on board with McCullough. This didn't go well last time we watched that.
This just needs to do it smart.
Well, looks like he's doing it pretty well. I think Bothwell's got some experience here as he gives them the gentlest of nudges down the backstretch. And behind them as well, let's not forget Warren in the number 12 is not pushing them either. He understands that those two have been utilizing their duo well enough. He doesn't need to complicate things. They lap yet another truck. I think they're gaining a little bit. It's down to 6.5. It was as high as 6.9 not long ago.
Slowly but surely. That's the thing. It is definitely going to take a while to make it happen.
Well, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. That's all they got to do here is just chip away at that. They've got laps left, about 30 of them even, or less than that. And this is the group that they are chasing. Rittenauer, Quick, and Ix. They have not changed position. We haven't missed anything. That's Jade Bell behind them, but Jade is a lap down, so 2 laps down even, actually. He's not in this fight.
We're going to come around again here. Rittenauer just set a 59.21. Let's see what McCullough does. 59.18. So only 3 thousandths of a second faster for McCullough that last time by.
If we could look at the multiple lap comparison between someone in the front group and someone in the second group. Because that will be telling. We're looking at Rittenauer, who's leading the first group, and McCullough, who's leading the second group. McCullough a little bit slower on lap 44, but other than that, consistently taking hundredths out of him. Fortunately, he's going to need about 60 laps to do that, so it's got to get a little bit quicker than that soon. This is almost a mirror version of what we had at Iowa last week, where it started out clean, and then we had a ton of cautions on the second half of the race. Here, we started out very messy. Now suddenly, it's been nothing but green flag racing.
Even with a round of green flag pit stops mixed in.
So we continue to watch McCullough lead this group, getting pushes from Bothwell here and there. Aaron Smith might be kicking himself a little bit as he could have been that much closer up to the lead if it had been a better stop, if he had someone to work with. But right now he's mired back in this second group. They're going to go by Jade Bell as well, who lets them all on the low side go by.
Second group shaved off 2/10 that time.
We haven't even talked about the third group, which, I mean, there's not a whole lot to discuss here, but they're 14.5 seconds back, and Matthew Lee, our winner last round, is back there right now. They've got Cook.
Ooh, that's Gregory Brandenburg that just nailed the wall behind him.
He did.
He was running in 13th.
You know, I think he was trying to get down on the apron to get out of their way. We've got the replay here for the 77.
It looks like he got a little, he got loose in the tri-oval, and that's how he ended up down on the apron. And he got loose trying to come back up on the banking on the backside of it. That's when he got back up into the wall.
Like a magnet, you could see how quickly he shot up there. The centrifugal force just almost pressing him into the wall.
We were talking about tire wear earlier on, and we didn't expand on this part, but the tri-oval is one place that you will see that happen, especially as the tires wear. Is the car, truck for this matter, really tries to get like super light on you, and if you're not right on top of the wheel and ready to catch it, you could have a problem, exactly like what he just ran into.
These three that we're watching have relatively fresh tires. It's about 6 laps on them now between them. Really, the oldest out there is Aaron Smith and Travis Rucker. They've each got 8 laps on their tires, 9 now, rather. It's, let's see, they are in 7th and 8th currently. So they're in the middle of the second pack.
See, that second pack started getting racy again, and what happened? They dropped over a half a second on that front group. So this front group, they just keep doing what they're doing right now. It's going to be their race to decide.
And, you know, we keep talking about this like it's going to go green to the end, which, I mean, the signs are pointing to that. But if we get a caution, that changes everything here.
It does. It certainly would. And we're also also assuming, at least in my own mind, that they might be able to go green, go the rest of the way without having to come down pit road. Don't know exactly how many laps they can go. I do know they're limited on fuel tank size by about 65%. So if we end up having to have another round of short green flag pit stops, that could throw another wrench into everything.
Well, we're on lap 52, and they've still got a ways to go. Oh, excuse me, I was wrong on counting the tires there. I was looking at the wrong graphic. That was how many pit stops they had, which, honestly, that makes it all the more amazing that Aaron Smith and Travis Rucker have had 8 pit stops. We're only 52 laps into this race. So there's an interesting stat for you. The actual tires, though, let's see who's got the oldest of our field right now. Looks like Dylan Altum with 20 laps on his tires, compared to our leaders, which have 14 laps on their tires.
And of course, Alton was in that, his teammate Cook was in that group there, which had Brandenburg get loose and slap the wall there. So, that couple of laps making all the difference.
I noticed this a little bit earlier. We've got Grumpy Cat on the hood of the car here for Matt Quick. Speaking of which, bit of a rest in peace there for Little Bubs, for those who love internet famous cats, I suppose. Apparently passed away today, so our sympathies go out to his owners and their loss today. Of course, had a little bit of a challenge there in the second group as Aaron Smith, ran the high side, couldn't quite get to the front. He had some help from Dylan Altum, but now Dylan Altum is dropping back very quickly on the third lane of all things.
I think he was trying, he was at the back of this pack, kind of taking up the tail end of this pack for a while. I think maybe he decided to finally get a little racy and it got up there and it's like, I don't want to anymore. So now he's back to the back of that group, which may not necessarily be a bad place to be, because I think if we see some action, it's probably going to come from this group right here. All right, here we go.
Pit stops. There's the answer on whether they can make it. McCullough trying to slow it up, so is Bothwell. And I think they managed to get there under pit speed. Altum joins them. Oh, that's why Altum dropped to the back. Oh, but Bothwell misses it. Bothwell was way beyond his stall. The 25 had to back it up. Good news for the other drivers is that there's at least 2 of them staying with it. Matthew Lee, Troy Cook, and Howell also come in as we watch the replay there.
Now the question will be, when will the front group of 3 decide to come in? If I'm those guys, I'm running my tank dry.
I'm with you on that one. I think at this point, don't risk the caution coming out and getting trapped a lap down. They've got plenty of gap. There's no way cars could jump them with a leapfrog maneuver and strategy. I'd say they're sitting very, very pretty to be able to control the strategy in this race.
And see, now you've got that group that had just come in. They're all going to be sitting a lap down at this point too. So if caution were to come out, they'd be the ones that would be at the very least having to take the wave around. So it's I think this is good, sound strategy from these guys here right now.
And did Warren pit all on his own? Yeah, the number 12 pitted from that second group with no friends.
That's going to be costly.
It really will be. I mean, we've already seen that affect Aaron Smith greatly, who is still leading that second group. He does not pit this time.
And Eli Warren still has a little damage on the front of his hose from that accident earlier on. So he definitely needs somebody out there to work with him, but there is nobody behind him or in front of him at this point.
Now, Warren did come out well ahead of McCullough, interestingly. Both of them are being caught by Dylan Altum by a high rate of knots. Bothwell with him. Oh, but Bothwell's going to let Altum go. Bothwell abandoned him to hook up with McCullough. Oh, and
interesting.
Ix pits. Ix pits from the front group with nobody with him. Now, these seem like experienced oval drivers. I'm just not sure why we're seeing moves like this. This is very strange.
Curiouser and curiouser. I don't know why I said it in that tone of voice, but roll with it. Come on.
Smith is rolling into his stall. The 70 is in. Ix is out. Where does that put him in terms of the drivers that just pitted, though? Let's see. Let's see. McCullough and Altum were our highest ones. No, it was Warren who's just getting overtaken right now. That's Smith that our leaders are going by. Still not pitting. They're on lap 20 currently.
We're starting to see a little bit more aggressive pushing from Quick. And this is the point here where I'm okay with it as long as you're doing it on the straightaway and you're making sure you're lined up, because now you're just trying to get every little bit of an advantage that you can. And they're pulling on those guys that came down in that first big group. I mean, they're still expanding their lead, so to speak, whenever they do go back, have to come down and come back on the track.
I'm trying to figure this one out, but Jared Ix, who's already pitted, and so is Aaron Smith. They were separated before, but it was about 6 seconds, remember, between the lead pack and the second pack. But it's now 11 seconds between them. And I'm looking, oh, you know what? I bet it's pit times. I bet it's pit stops. Aaron Smith was in a little bit long, about 14.7 seconds versus Ix 11. So even though Ix is on his own and so is Smith, they're separated by a wide margin. And the reason I'm talking about them is because they are our highest pitters currently. We're just waiting on Quick and Rittenhour to come in.
I'm wondering if Rittenhour is going to be coming in this time. It looks like there's a little space between them. Yep. All right. Yeah, they communicated there, kind of body language with the trucks. They kind of knew each other was getting ready to come in, giving each other space here. So 2 leaders down pit road.
Rittenhour looked like he was pushing it right at the limit. He did slow down enough. I went back and double-checked real quick. So no speeding from them. Ix is on the backstretch. And even though he pitted on his own, he did find a couple friends to hook up with, but they were slower trucks who were lapped down. He's with Cabdell. That's the one you see right in front right now. Waiting for Rittenauer to go. Oh, it's a very fast stop for Rittenauer. 10.7 seconds.
Quick.
Wow. Pit stops.
Rittenauer actually doing kind of the smart thing here real quick. He was actually let off the gas just a touch to try to let Quick get back to him. That way they can try to stay together here.
Pit stops have been the bugbear of today, as Jared Ix, with his lapped car friend, is starting to gain and will get back up to them. But is he going to blow by? I think he will. They are up to speed. Can they hold on to the draft? There goes Jared Ix. The number 1 is in P1.
Looking at Cadell, you know, that's one guy that even though he has not had things go his way in the race, he is not a slow truck at all. So even though he's a lap down, he's a good partner here for Ix.
Riding on board with Rittenauer, watching Ix disappear slowly but surely. So,
and those guys back there, Rittenauer and Quick, they found themselves a few friends as well with Hal and Radke. They may be lapped down, but that's a bigger pack now.
I mean, that seems to be the way to go. It worked out for Ix, so find yourself a friend who is a lap down and willing to work with you. So Howell joins in, Radke joins in. We're getting close to 10 laps to go, and they're starting to catch once again. That extra boost has put them in the mix, and he tries to block the run, but they're going to go up high, and it's going to go 3 wide for the lead, with one of those trucks being a lap truck. Still, he cannot stop Rittenauer. He gets back up to the front.
By the way, they can get racy now. That second pack, the one that we were watching try to close in from about 6-7 seconds back, they're now more than 14 seconds back after that pit cycle. So these 3 can settle it amongst themselves all they want to right now.
There's no challenge from behind. And Ix has been found by those 2, so it's a podium race up at the top yet again. But what about those 3 lap trucks? Do they stay with them? They really don't have a need to be in the mix. And are they in for position? Let me double check on that. Howell and Radke are not. Cadell and
Radke and Cadell are, so yeah, they'll have to fight with themselves here too. But yeah, I mean, if I'm them, I'm latching on to the leaders too. I mean, you go back a little ways. Well, Medina and Simmons really aren't going to be in for position for those guys either. So I'm just latching on. I'm not going to get involved, but I'll latch on to the back.
Yeah, ride their coattails all the way to the end. Very few laps left. Really, if anything, I'd say the caution might come from our second group, because I'm looking back there and it's a little wild right now.
By the way, Robert Vormwald back there in 7th position. He started this race shotgun on the field, got some fender damage, was 2 laps down because of a connection issue, and has found himself up in the top 10 of this thing fighting up here.
Never give up, never surrender. That certainly seems to have worked well for
There it is!
There it is! There's the caution! Looks like Eichenberg is involved. McGaffey, Travis Rucker.
Rucker's the one that went upside down.
Got about 5 trucks involved. Looks like Corson, unfortunately, got a big chunk of it. It started with Travis Rucker making contact.
Yeah, it looked like McGaffey got loose on the high side on corner entry, came down and just clipped Rucker and sent him head on into the wall.
Looks like the stewards are calling that on the 14 for causing the caution. We're going to watch Eichenberg's perspective.
Back end is not just behind him, and Eichenberg probably have a good look at it here.
Yep, I'd say so. From the replay, he saw everything, and then he saw a spin cycle. But This closes everybody in together, and I do see a few pit stops. Aaron Smith, one of them, coming in. Otherwise, most everybody else seems to be staying out. Rittenauer slowing up to try and let the pace car catch him. Wonder, did Smith get involved in that incident somehow? He's got damage on him. I'm going to check on what happened to the 70 here.
I think everybody's here trying to find that real quick. Yeah, okay. So when Rucker was first going upside down, it was Aaron Smith that kind of finished the job for him there. So that's where he got his damage, was when Rucker was upside down, hitting underneath his car.
It actually damaged his engine, so I think he's out of it. One of our fast drivers is done for the day. It didn't look like that bad of a hit from there, but you could see the smoke just pouring out of the tailgate.
Not sure. Rittenauer still is not fallen back behind the pace car here yet.
Yeah, that was a big clout from onboard. You could see the truck just jostle to the side. Now, how did Ix just pit? I think he might have just pitted because he's fallen behind McCullough.
Let me go back and look to see if maybe he got tires by chance. Yeah, he took all fours.
Well, that'll be something to watch because Rittenauer and Quick have not come in, but we've had a long green flag run. We're going to take a quick break here on the Global Sim Racing channel. We'll take you all the way to the end here to the checkered flag. We do have that green-white checkered, don't forget. So stick around here for round 3 in the FEG PC iRacing Flea Market Winter Truck Series. Welcome back to Talladega Superspeedway. We're getting ready for another restart here. We'll see if it's the last one because we'll be going on lap 70 out of 75, but we have 2 green-white checkers in the pocket if they have more incidents. Raymond Rittenauer will be on the front with Matt Quick next to him on this restart, but for the first time in many, many laps, we have the field bunched back up together. They've been separated for quite a time up to now, Adam. So these drivers have gotten used to a few of each other in a pack, but not necessarily everybody that they're around now.
Yeah, and now things are kind of jumbled up a little bit. We were looking at that front pack of 3 cars trying to run away from it. That lead, that 14-second gap is completely gone now. But Rittenauer and Quick still at the front of this thing. But now, I mean, with Warren back there, Warren's shown some speed. Altum's been up most of this race. Ix is still there with Ix now with fresh tires. So there's still a lot of things that could play out here over the next couple laps.
And let's hope that they play out clean. Let's hope that we finish under green here because the Mustang pace car ducks off and comes into pit lane, giving control over to Raymond Rittenauer. Let's see how early he decides to go. He's going to go much earlier than everybody else had before. Is Quick going to duck down below him? He doesn't yet. He stays up to the high side. No, instead it's going to be Rittenauer who moves up to the high side with him. They start to pull away a little bit. Back in third now. It is Kenneth McCullough. He's trailing Warren and Altum. And then don't forget Ix, who was up with that top 3 from much of that middle stint.
Those two have gotten comfortable running around each other, so no, not surprised to me that they'd be trying to hook right back up here. But that second pack, here comes Eli Warren trying to make something happen on the outside already.
Eli does have the speed, but it starts to stall out. He ducks back down low. Ooh, and he tries to block off McCullough from getting back in. McCullough's not having any of it. He makes space down there. Everybody has got their gloves out, and they are ready to fight. We're going to be 5 to go at the line.
Keep bringing it up. 2 green-white checkers, a possibility here. And I would think that everybody would have enough gas to be able to complete those green-white checkers should they become necessary. But we'll watch that storyline if it does occur. But right now, oh, look at that. I think that was Altum back there. Kind of got moved up into that middle line. Immediately has to get back down. Eli's just trying to figure out any way he can right now to get around Kenneth McCullough.
And don't forget Cook. Remember, he had his troubles in that one pit stop. Well, he's back in it now because he was following Vormwald. And it's now becoming a pack of 9 trucks here at the front, all battling for the lead. Any one of them could take this. Don't forget, after this, the action's not over. Once the racing is done, we do have a $100 drawing. That'll take place over at the iRacing Flea Market. If you want to go and see that live over on their Facebook page, link is in the description below. Up on the high side, McCullough's got some help from the 12.
Here comes that high line. 3 trucks up there, trying to use a little side draft, at least initially. And this is one of those ones. They got to keep with it. They could use another truck up there, but if they were to keep with it, they might get enough momentum to start working their way up. But right now, they're slipping behind. And here comes that 4th truck. It's going to be Ix. He's moving up to the high line.
Doing that icky shuffle to get himself into position. The number 1 has been strong all race long. And here comes McCullough. He's got the boost, and he might be able to get up to the front.
You know, you had your opportunity all race long, and you were saving that for the very end, weren't you?
I promise I did not think of that until just now. It's a Cincinnati, and I'm kind of ashamed of that.
Here comes that high line.
He's certainly got a good run down the back stretch. But down low, Rittenauer has been incredibly good down on the bottom line, especially with Quick pushing.
Oh, contact Ix gets into McCullough a little bit. Ix got into McCullough a little bit. That was almost disaster, but somehow everybody stays off each other. Eli Warren stepped out to try to make that thing 3 wide, and you saw how much it cost him and ultimately cost that line a little bit. I think McCullough would have the lead right now if Warren hadn't stepped out.
I almost wonder if Warren saw what was going on with cars getting wobbly below him and decided to try and lift and get away from it. That did send him well back down, though. He is in 10th position. Still 2 wide up at the front. We're 2 to go. If we can keep it green for just a half a lap here, we will go all the way to the checkers without overtime. Oh, but we got a bump to the 21. He holds it together. Everybody behind having to check up a little bit. Troy Cook holds it. And no caution.
Oh, we might just get to that white flag.
Come on, boys.
Remember, the line is past the tri-oval here. Warren coming back into the picture.
Oh,
Big run,
no,
but he's going to
one turn.
Get yellow before the line. We're across the line. No, the yellow did come out.
We were inches from there. Inches from the line, and Matt Quick went on his lid. His race is done with a blown engine. Who else got involved?
Oh, Alton went sliding on his lid for a long way.
Alton was the one he came back in front of. Looks like there was a bit of contact with Troy Cook. Wow, some trucks even went underneath.
Cook and Alton had just hooked back up together.
Let's get an onboard with the number 31 of William Rucker. I think he managed to go completely, well, almost underneath a truck. Actually, you know what? Matthew Lee, after we watched this one, Matthew Lee did go completely underneath without a touch. Watching Rucker first. That was a great escape here. Sees the truck coming back down. He ducks down low. Whew. If we watch from Lee's perspective up next, we're going to have to duck as we see someone go all the way over the top. Oh my goodness.
Wow.
Yeah. We're going to watch it from the driver's view here real quick one more time. And he couldn't see anything. And in fact, he couldn't really see the truck go over top of him from that view. For all he knows, it was just managed to escape without any sort of drama. Meanwhile, he's going to get out of the truck after the race and look at the top of his hood and wonder why there's scratch marks there. So, what does this do for our order? Rittenauer still your leader. Ix is up to second after that. McCullough is scored in third. Warren fourth. That brings him back into it. Brad Bothwell in fifth and Cook in sixth. But Cook, I think, has a bit of damage.
Man, that changes the complexion here. Rittenauer loses his longtime partner, but is now going to have Ix starting alongside him. Eli Warren shown a lot of pace here at the end. I mean, the part of the problem with that last accident was the fact he had such a tremendous run. There really wasn't anywhere for him to go, but he's now going to be sitting pretty here to start this thing again. Man. This got interesting, and don't forget Troy Cook back in this thing now. Granted, he just hooked back up with his teammate right before Alton got taken out, but he's got a little bit more nose damage. Radke's got a lot. He'll be up there though. Any truck I think here in the top 10 still has a chance at this thing.
Absolutely. This is going to be wild, and it's not over even if we get another caution, because we have one more green-white checkers after that. But if we do get to the white flag, it is going all the way to the line. That's why we were so eager to see them get to the line this one time. If they had just managed to stay straight forward a few more feet, literally, then we would have finished without any overtime here. But this gives some of those into the back a little bit more opportunity to try and take that victory. Are we going to go too wide this time? See a couple trucks ducking into pit lane. I'm not sure if those are lap trucks. Shouldn't need fuel here because most of them were on about 15 laps or so, and that's plenty of fuel to make it. Lights are still on the pace car, so we are going at least 2 more times around. Boy, you got to feel for Matt quick.
Yeah, God, such a tremendous race. I mean, it's entirely possible that if we hadn't had that one caution, he could be sitting in victory lane right now.
Yeah, he's right now instead sitting in his pit stall and has been for nearly 5 minutes taking repairs. Doubt we'll see him back out on track, but you never know.
He might just be hanging around to watch the end of this thing. I think like a lot of people, I mean, this could get exciting.
Well, and again, there are bonus points for running at the checkered flag. So I think we probably will see a few trucks suddenly find their way back out on the track, come to the tail of the line, and just kind of cruise around, hoping to take that bonus since if they've finished at least half the laps. And actually, well, you know, the other thing with that, too, is that half lap thing, that was, let's see. Oh, no, it's 80% of the laps, excuse me, for the $100 drawing that we were just talking about before. So that's good reason to get out there. $100, a chance at $100 is, I would cruise around at 70 miles an hour to try and take that. Hopefully we get the one to go this time by McCullough, now McCullough is being scored at the front, I'm seeing. Rittenauer in second.
Exactly sure where that happened because Rittenauer was once again, like he's done the last few cautions, just was way ahead of the pace car at first.
McCullough, another one of our drivers who didn't set a qualifying time, started 38th and is looking at a potential victory now.
Okay, so I went back and looked, and McCullough, when the caution came out, was about a fender in front of Rittenauer.
Wow.
So at the same time, though, I don't know if I want to be McCullough in leading this thing coming down to the line here. Coming down to the green flag. I honestly think I would rather be in second or third.
We still didn't get the lights out on the pace car, interestingly. So we'll need 2 more to go around. Jared Ix started 34th. We were talking about drivers who've gained and lost, and he's up to third. Rittenauer, though, one of the few cases here at the front, really, that started on the pole. Right now he's in second, and he's stayed up there. In fact, if you look through the top 10, the only drivers that started in the top 10 are Rittenauer, and then Matthew Lee, who started in 8th. He currently sits in 9th. Otherwise, we wondered why there were so many trucks that maybe started from pit lane, even though they started up front. It seemed like the call really was to start from the back.
Yeah, and this is one of those races, especially with as many incidents that we saw at the start of this race, that's one time that strategy plays out. I just want one time when I try that strategy for it to play out, because I've been in a little bit of a drought in that department.
Yeah, the luck just doesn't seem to go your way, but the racing gods are fickle. Eventually, it's got to turn around.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, that's true. That's what I keep telling people, too, that, they go on bad luck streaks.
Well, drivers on a bad luck streak today. Here's our DNFs so far. Jason Jacoby, Ronald Goodson. This is a long list, so strap in. Kevin Sargent, Stephen Fogel, Josh Bonwell, Ray Jackson, Jim Ott, Heath Olson, Tim No, Jeremy Crandall, Julia McLean, David McCullough, David Santini, Travis Rucker, Aaron Smith, and Davey Hendricks are all out. We do have a few that are still sitting in pit lane. Tobias Eckenberg is not on track. Steve McGaffey, RJ Corson, Matt Quick, and Dylan Altum are all getting repairs currently. And then you get to the drivers that are many laps down who are still running and trying to get those bonus points I was talking about. Bullock, Medina, Simmons, Howell. We've also got, looks like Jade Bell is multiple laps down. John Jenkins, Gregory Brandenburg is 1 lap down. So is Ratke and Melvin. Everybody else that I haven't listed, if you didn't hear your favorite driver, they're on the lead lap and they got a shot at the win.
So that means you did all that in order, right? So when we do the final rundown, we don't have to read those. You know, the guys
I wish that was in order.
I tried.
Yeah. All right, now we are double file, and we should be going racing here this next time by. Can McCullough take it home in 2 laps? Can they survive just a single lap and get to the checkers this time, or will we have another green-white checkered? As they're getting another reminder from the race stewards that they're doing the $100 draw afterwards. Let's hope that doesn't incentivize drivers to wreck before they get back to the white flag. As the pace car leads them down the back stretch. The only thing that we're missing in this broadcast is since our director can't speak, we don't have all the lurid tales of is it Alabama Boulevard? Is that what it's called? Talladega Boulevard. I was close.
I don't think we need to hear Sean's take on Talladega Boulevard and what happens down there.
I've heard
that might not be TVPG.
He definitely has to censor them a little bit, the things that he has said on air. I've heard the ones that didn't go to air, yes. But he's had fun. We'll say that. Those days are behind him, unfortunately. But right now, Kenneth McCullough, he's looking for fun ahead of him. He's looking for a victory ahead of himself. As you can see from the motion of that Mustang pace car, it's heading into pit lane. What are we going to get on that restart? Down goes the Mustang. McCullough has control. Will it be an early start like we saw last time? He's holding them up. He's almost fully through the tri-oval here. Waiting for it. Green flag is out. He held him a long time. Oh, it's a very bad start. Wheel spin for... Oh, no more wheel spin, and we're getting a caution already as more trucks wreck. We are going to get another green-white checkers. Oh, a lot of trucks got involved in that. It started with the... Well, it didn't start with the 12, but the 12 got the worst of the wheel spin. And the 21 of Cook hit him. And it was an absolute chain reaction. There's about 4 more blown engines in there. When we had one driver disappear, was that that was Warren in the 12. Hadn't talked about that a whole lot, but there's your evidence.
Because he was involved in one of the first ones. Then that one about 2 cautions ago, and the third one here. So he probably got something somewhere else with the 13 listen limit.
I know it looks silly, but to be fair, it's old tires. It's 124 degrees Fahrenheit on the track, so.
Yeah, that track temperature is nothing to mess around with on restarts for sure.
We're gonna mess around a little bit with the standings while we go to break and try to sort out what the order is. So stick around because we will come back with the finish. This will be our final attempt at a green-white checkers. Don't go away. We've got prizes to give away here on GSRC. Welcome back to Talladega Superspeedway. It's the last try. It's now or never. You've got to be at the front when the checkers fall, whether that's through a caution or through just speed and making it up to the front. Well, either way, you got to be first to win here. And with our last green-white checkers, it's going to be Kenneth McCullough up at the front with Jared Ix next to him. But behind them, the pushers, Bothwell will be behind McCullough. And then in fourth, it's Rittenauer, who's going to be behind Ix. And what about all those drivers behind them? We still have 11 trucks left on the lead lap. So about 11 drivers have the ability to take the victory here today. Of course, technically, we could have someone come back from a lap down if all 11 of them do have something happen and we don't get a caution.
Don't put it past them.
Yeah, I'd be amazed if they all managed to wreck off the racing line and didn't get a caution out and someone a lap down managed to come back. But just to clarify, because I'm sure someone will bring it up, that could technically happen. Anyways, McCullough is up at the...
Yeah, I'll say, though, here, coming back to the green, I want to be in Ix shoes. You got a guy behind you in Rittenauer that you've worked with here today. You know what him pushing you is going to feel like. I would almost be trying to make sure he's matched up to your rear bumper right when the green flag happens. No, never mind what McCullough's doing. Just try to get to the guy that you've worked with.
All right. Pace car is in. Are we going to get all the way to the checkers? We didn't even get to the line on the last restarts. It was very tricky on these old tires, and they're still on them. Waiting for them to accelerate away. Again, nobody wanting to jump early. Nobody wanting to get caught out. A little bit of a bobble from Ix as he tries to get the throttle down, but he doesn't spin it. He keeps it pointed forward.
McCullough spin his tires a little bit, and Ix had to react to that. He saw him coming up the line a little bit. That set him back, and that also separated Ix and Rittenauer. So now McCullough has Bothwell all over the back of him.
Bothwell stays behind, not making any moves. We just need to get to the white flag, and then we are green all the way to the checkers. So far, pretty calm here in the front of the pack. Just a little bit of too wide at the very back. Now we're starting to see them spread out as Ix decides it's time to go. He looks up high. This could actually box in Bothwell potentially. But what about behind him? Is he going to get any help? Vormwald is the next one back. He doesn't go up high. Then it's Matthew Lee. He is going to hold the high line as we go 2 wide, 3 deep.
How about Vormwald? Started this thing in 43rd, started this thing actually 2 laps down with a connection issue, and here he is going for the win.
They got the white flag. That means there is no cautions left. It is going all the way to the line. Falling back, Ix doesn't have the momentum. Oh, he has a little bit of a bobble as they try to connect, and that is Lee trying to get to push him, but it's not quite working. They're out of momentum, and they're on the high line. Up at the front, McCullough has the lead, but what about Bothwell? Is he going to ditch him? Is he going to try and pull around to see if he can get the run? He's not backed it up far enough away. In fact, he is boxed in now because behind him, Vormwald is back there. And then also Ix can't allow him up at this point. McCullough is looking like he is sitting pretty as we got a little bit of an accident behind him coming down to the line. It is going to be McCullough. Wow. Vormwald took second. Bothwell managed to get third. Matthew Lee with fourth, and Rittenauer rounds out fifth. Let's take a look at that accident. Exactly what happened here, because there was a number of trucks with different things happening. Looks like the first one was Ix getting a little bit turned by Caudill. And then from there, some
already been on the radio to apologize for it.
From there, Bothwell looks like he got loose through the inner loop, or not the inner loop, different track there, Joe. Through the dog leg.
I mean, I'd throw an inner loop here. That'd make things interesting.
Certainly would be a little bit tougher. Speeds would be slower. And then from behind them, everybody was just essentially trying to take avoiding action in that top group. Let's go to your results, though. with how this race finished. It was Kenneth McCullough Jr. who took the win after starting 38th, and Vormwald from 43rd to second position. Bothwell finishing third today to round out the podium with Matthew Lee, a fourth place for him. Our pole sitter, Rittenauer, has to settle for a top 5. Josh Caudill will take 6th place with Clint Cox coming home in 7th. Then you've got Jared Ix in 8th and Jeff Radke in 9th. Tyler Pluff rounds out your top 10.
Going to 11th. Well, there we're going to find some of the guys that had some trouble. Jeffrey Smith, John Jenkins, Gregory Brandenburg. That was a big one earlier. Troy Cook, he got involved in a couple of those. William Rucker, Andrew Melvin in 16th. 17th can go to Eli Warren. Jade Bell taking it home 18th. Dylan Altum, another guy that had a lot of promise on the day, ultimately didn't go down the way he wanted to. 19th, and a guy that probably could have won the thing if it stayed green at one point. Matt Quick coming home in 20th.
Tobias Eckenberg, 21st, 20 laps down. You get into the drivers that had big problems, but we're still running some of them. Dave Hendricks in 22nd and Steve McGaffey in 23rd. Travis Rucker was a DNF in 24th. Aaron Smith also DNF 25th, and RJ Corson didn't make it back out on track. He was 26th position. David Santini as well, 27th. Howell, 28th. And Simmons did get back out and finish. He was 29th. Bullock, the same, and the number 17, he finished 30th.
And 31st, we'll find David McCullough. Jose Medina in 32nd, Julian McLean in 33rd after that hard contact with the inside wall. 34th is Jeremy Crandall. Tim Noe in 35th, Heath Olson 36th. Jim Ott had a close one. They got caught up again. 37th, Ray Jackson 38th, Josh Bronwell in 39th, Kevin Sargent 40th. And I'll go ahead and round it out here real quick for us, Joe. In 41st position, we found, going way back here, these are some of the guys that were taken out in that very first accident. It's going to be Ronald Goodson, Stephen Fogel, and Jason Jacoby. And that rounds out today's 43 truck field.
Well, rounding out the podium up at the top of it is Kenneth McCullough Jr., our winner today for this race. It looks like he's not quite ready. We'll try and get our drivers, see if someone can go tell them to head over to our rating room before we should.
Very competitive there at the end. Well-earned victory here from Kenneth McCullough, who we're getting ready to talk to.
Yep, we've got Kenneth in the booth with us. Well, we did have him in the booth, and then he disappeared here. See if we can pull him back in. There we go. Now we've got Kenneth with us. Ken, you've managed to take victory without a qualifying lap. I have to assume that starting from the back was an intentional ploy from you just to probably stay out of trouble, which seemed to work out because there was a lot of cautions at the start.
Yeah, man, me and Brad had a plan there at the beginning, and we stuck with it, and it worked out at the end, that's for sure.
It really did. How nervous were you on those green-white checker restarts, though? It seemed like, especially on that first green-white checker, when we had a lot of drivers spin their tires, it seemed like it was tough to get going.
Yeah, it was. I think a lot of us was on 2 tires. Probably the majority of us up front was on 2 tires. It was kind of hairy right there, but once Brad got behind me, I knew I was going to be okay then.
So this gives you a victory, obviously, but how are the incident points? Because obviously you can get a few penalty points, and that can hurt how you did in terms of championship points today. Did you manage to take max points?
Yeah, I had no incidents at all.
Wow. Impressive out there. It certainly will help you in this race. Congratulations once again. Is there anybody you'd like to thank before we let you go?
Yeah, I'd like to thank Brad for doing a hell of a job of sticking with me, and thank Jeff for putting this thing on. He does a hell of a job what he does.
Awesome stuff. That was Kenneth McCullough Jr., our winner here today. Robert Vormwald, who also impressed us with his climb through the field, is ready to talk to Adam now.
Yeah, hey Robert. I mean, fantastic run out there. You got caught up early in an accident, and you also had connection issues to start this race. Essentially, started this race in 43rd. Actually, started in 43rd. Ended up 2 laps down, and still managed to come back and finish second in this thing. Go ahead and tell us about that. The craziness of the last about 15 laps for you.
Yeah, I was just trying to stay out of trouble and follow the guys ahead of me, stay on the bottom, and stick with whoever's on the bottom. That's pretty much it. At the beginning of the race, I wasn't sure what was going on there. Yeah, we went 2 laps down and got back in, got connected back up. Just got lucky, got a wave around, got a lap back, and we were just pretty much trying to just do a little racing, stay out of trouble until the end, and everything worked out for me.
You know, and you mentioned doing a little bit of racing. I mean, it took you a little bit of time to actually get to a point where you could do a little bit of racing. You had some of that damage there on your left front fender. How much did that affect you early?
Yeah, there was no way I was going to be able to pull out and lead people, so I was going to have to be the pusher pretty much. So other than that, it didn't seem too bad.
All right. Well, hey, Robert, fantastic run out there today. You come home second after all the trouble, and really nothing but great things to say because, you know, one of the cleanest guys out there, especially once you got away from some of the carnage. Anybody you'd like to thank here real quick?
Yes, I'd like to thank Dan Burhan's Trucking out of Cortland, New York, RLV Home Improvements, and Nick Fulco from Nick Stock Entertainment out of California. Without those guys, I wouldn't be able to do this and have this much fun and have all the sponsorships on my car. Thank you. And thank you guys for televising. And thank you, Jeff Ford, for having a great series.
And that was Robert Vormwald there. And I think Joe's going to catch up with Brad Bothwell.
Absolutely. Third place. He helped push his teammate up to the line, but it only netted you third place instead. Brad, what happened there through the tri-oval on the last lap?
I believe it just got a little loose. So I tried to save it, and then I overcorrected a little bit, but luckily I was still able to pull out the third.
We saw early in the race there was a lot of cautions, and it seemed like a lot of drivers were kind of trying to play their strategy to that by pitting nearly every time because they seem to expect them to continue on. But then suddenly we had a spate of green. Were you caught out by that? Were you surprised that we suddenly had a very clean second half?
Actually, I wasn't. I mean, I think me and Kenneth were sitting there talking. I'm like, you know what? Until these cautions stop, I said, we're eventually going to get that green run. So I said, let's keep on pitting. Let's keep on pitting. And then the one cycle I did not go in on, and I thought it was going to be just over between me and him. But he stuck with me, and he just went a little bit earlier to save me on fuel when we had that green flag run.
It all worked out in the end. So 3 rounds in, and you've got yourself a podium here. What's your goal next round when we head over to Vegas?
Yeah, well, Vegas is one of my favorite tracks. So, I mean, I'm hoping to do really good there. And I don't know. This is the one race I was actually worried about because this is like anybody can win here. I mean, you just got to stay out of trouble. So.
Yeah, it seemed to be the name of the game. Again, congratulations on a podium. Anybody you'd like to thank before you head out here?
Yes, I would like to thank Jeff for putting this whole league on. This is my 3rd season with him. I'd like to thank you guys for broadcasting. And I'd like to thank Kenneth tonight for working with me and us getting the 1 and 3.
Great stuff. That was Brad Bothwell, our 3rd place finisher from 35th on the grid. And we, of course, want to thank a few people as we close up as well. A thank you to the Ford Entertainment Group from us for sponsoring this, as well as a thank you to the iRacing Flea Market. They're getting ready to do that giveaway draw here soon. If you want to head over to that Facebook group and check that out, that'll be live. Also, a thank you goes to the companies that provide the software and the hardware for our broadcast. They're listed here on your screen. And additional thanks go to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. See the screen for how to get a hold of more of her great work. Thanks to the team today, Sean, Adam, and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com. Also, check out our social media. Our Twitter is @GSR Channel, Facebook, Global Sim Racing Channel, and Instagram, GSRC_Graham. If you'd like to support the channel, go check out our merchandise store at gsrc.storeenvy.com. Link is in the description below. And also, make sure and subscribe here to GSRC. All you got to do is scroll below this video. There'll be a big red button that says subscribe. As we mentioned, the next race is going to be at Vegas. That'll be Monday, December 9th at 8:15 p.m. Eastern. But we have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen. So check those out and mark them down on your calendar. But until next time, race clean, race hard. We'll see you on the track.